I guess it's important to know that I didn't offer myself up, and I think I'm now realizing how important that was. I did a lot of organising in the protest movement, which is strong in Brighton and Hove, around Gaza. As a theatre director, I chose to take theatre to the streets as a form of protest and involve everybody in theatrical protest. So that kind of got me familiar with lots of people in the protest movement. And I was actually approached by about 3 different groups and asked to stand as a candidate. I didn't want to. And then it felt ridiculous to commit to a campaign and an effective route to open and to not take it. So I then went through a hustings and received 100% of the vote. And so that I carry that as something very important, that it was the community around me. There were 160 people at the hustings. It was the community around me who wanted me to stand and to voice for the community. So I don't arrive as a politician. I arrive as a member of the community. 100%. I don't think anyone can. Yeah, our minds are not equipped to imagine the horror that we are seeing and hearing about. And for many people, life as normal has stopped, and that certainly happened to me. My life has changed in response to this. I can't just keep, living my nice life. An end to this addiction to militarism, an end to corruption in the arms trade, an end to political parties lining their pockets through arms deals, an end to, colonialism, which will be sort of new for Britain, really, because as much as we think the British Empire is over, our fingers are still in the hands of digging deep into colonialism, and our hands are still covered in blood in that area. This just needs to stop. It just needs to stop. It's excuses and lies. I think people were terrified when the effective conflation of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism happened to Jeremy Corbyn in 2019 and 17. And many people I knew who were educated and able to articulate themselves and to understand differences in definition were genuinely nervous and scared and would rather be quiet and were hesitant. And now there's been so many Jewish people who've spoken up and given those definitions to the public, given those means of articulation, that we can see where this is being weaponized. And we can see how Labour used that to destroy their own leader with Jeremy Corbyn, as well as the press, as well as the opposition to Labour. So we're not buying that anymore. We can see what's happening. We can see what Labour's backing. And many, many people don't want this anymore. And Labour is losing a lot of popularity over this. They're losing a lot of support. How can we trust them when they back this? Peter Kyle is a great part of the culture of this party line. He is a Labour Friend vice chair. He is a vice chair of Labour Friends of Israel. He has had 8 opportunities to vote where he has voted against or chosen not to vote for either a ceasefire or for stopping sending arms to Israel. He has blocked a lot of his constituents who write to him. He does not answer to a lot of his constituents. And everything points to the fact that he is in some way a benefactor of what is going on. So it's the people of Hove and Portslade are really, really upset with his silence and his his support of, and right now to be Labour friend of Israel, that needs to be reconsidered as a phrase. You know, when we talk about people standing, we talked about Jeremy Corbyn standing on the platform with a Holocaust survivor and people questioning that. You are standing on the platform of an organisation that is systematically starving thousands of children and targeting crowded refugee camps full of civilians. You're a friend of that. I think that's stronger than liking a tweet 8 years ago, like Fazia has been blown up for now. The levels of double standard and hypocrisy are so blatant, an 8-year-old could see it. I mean, Britain started a lot of this problem before 1948, as we know. So this is a British problem, and Britain's blind backing of Israel, no matter what Israel do, is a problem. All of this needs to be reconsidered. 75 years since Israel has been created, and the way it has been created and the way it has governed itself with Palestinians. Number one, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You will have war after war after war after war, and every single war will be used to push the myth that Israel needs to defend itself through very aggressive power, through ethnic cleansing, and through genocide. It would just be, you know, in my mind, there cannot be a solution which is not a one-state solution where each human being in that area has equality, irrelevant of their ethnicity, their religious beliefs, their skin color, their financial status. That is society, yeah? You have a vote. You live in this land, you have a vote. It's democracy. Without that, it's apartheid. So I'm not saying that how you do that is not going to be, but these are the steps we have to work towards, and we have to stop buying into this divisive myth, which basically is based on old school racism of the Arabs being continually called savages, barbarians, in need of civilizing forces from the West. This is all still playing out in this area, and all of this needs to stop. All of this needs to stop. How could Rishi Sunak, in his In the Rain suicide speech when he announced a general election, only mention Islamic extremism? At the time, thousands and thousands and thousands of Muslims are being slaughtered. Could you imagine him saying that and talking about Zionist extremism or anything to do with Jewish action at a time of thousands and thousands and thousands of Jewish people being slaughtered? This is just the racism we're dealing with. Yeah. And that's where it needs to stop first. That's where it needs to stop first, is in this language and in this painting of, well, it's just propaganda. It really is. Even papers that I would relax by reading on a Saturday, like The Guardian, who have frankly let us down since not backing Corbyn. It's just how they I read when they showed every single face of every single hostage. I found it very upsetting and moving and important to read. But we only get numbers, and we only get statistics, and we only get high shot images of rubble, really, from the mainstream press regarding Palestinians. They're always seen as numbers which are in dispute, numbers which people like Suella Braverman have the gall to dispute, not individual precious lives that have been in front of our eyes, taken in the most brutal way. So the press it's becoming desperate though, and it's becoming pathetic how desperate it is, because they're falling over their faces with these lies. And it's like, who do people think the British public are? You must think we're all really stupid to keep on believing these yarns that are being said. It's like something out of an Orwell novel now. It really is. Yeah. I almost, as you said that, I always had a memory of being at school in the 1980s and seeing a blonde child getting completely different treatment to a black child and feeling the injustice at a very young age. And it's so blatant. Of course, we should open our heart and our arms to innocent Ukrainian children who are injured, who need safe passage. And that is equal to anyone who needs safe passage from many other countries which are suffering bombardment and struggle and danger. And it's just blatant. You can get £250 as a family for housing a Ukrainian, or you could have your phone taken from you and the police knocking on your door and be called a terrorist sympathizer for showing your sympathy in the wrong way to a family from Palestine or the situation in Palestine. These children need urgent medical care. Not only are we not condemning the bombing of hospitals, while we know that children are undergoing operations without anaesthetic, we are also saying that these children don't deserve or are not allowed medical treatment here. I mean, I'm not a politician. I've never wanted to be a politician. It's got to the stage where not every single normal person can talk about this, and we will all agree and nod and give a round of applause, because our humanity in this country is in such a desperate place that we are standing on benches in the rain, and we are standing on little boxes at train station, and we are just all saying the truth as normal people and giving each other rounds of applause, because we need to feed ourselves with the basic truth that every day is being painted to us differently. And the word gaslighting is not enough. It feels so abusive to be lied to like this when we're grieving and we're in outrage. If this doesn't create a revolution, then God knows what will. I think the act of making theatre is itself political, because unless you're in the West End, it's not a good financial option. It's you're doing something because you need to communicate something deep. Usually, you're doing something because you've got something to say, and you want to say it in a group of people. And you want to create communities, and everything about you wants those communities to feel inclusive and good and diverse. And it's an engagement in active philosophy for me, and that was my background, was philosophy, before I went into theatre. So I felt this need to engage with artists who and start talking. So I created a group called Artist Action, and within a week there were 300 members, and we were just sharing ideas before every protest. And one of the ideas was we hired barrister and lawyer outfits and stood in a shopping mall and read out the ICJ statement, and that really worked. The funny thing is, people thought we were actual lawyers, and that created a visual impact. I've done a lot of street performance, large scale outdoor street performance, so I know a bit about grabbing the eye. We did a die-in, which was very powerful, but we did it as a ceremony to allow people time to grieve, so it wasn't just a shouting rally. And we did a flower ceremony when the awful flower massacres happened. It's, for me, it's a sort of form of therapy to kind of link artistry and protest and keep going, because I don't know, since October, I haven't actually even been able to read a novel. My capacity for imagination is all trying to understand what's happening in the world right now. So I moved from London to Brighton over 25 years ago, and lived in Hove. I've lived by myself in Hove as a single girl. I've lived with friends. I actually, when I when I had a family, couldn't the part I was in, I couldn't really afford to stay in, and I've actually moved to Pavilion just next door. But my work, I set up. So I run a youth theatre company, and I've set up free clubs for young people in areas which have least youth services, or a lot of these things are very expensive as well. So we've set up free clubs, 5 free clubs, 2 of which are in the area. And for years and years, I set up my youth theatre company in the area as well. We go up to the age of 25, but start at the age of 6. And the last piece of work was a huge piece of political theatre with 80 people in the cast, age 8 to 80. So I have spent a lot of time building relationships with different community leaders, all as a way of making clear what we're offering. Been going into schools, meeting young people, meeting with the different youth projects. We offer mentoring, skills classes, community classes. So I actually happen to have spent quite a long time in the area trying to build these connections. So it transferred very easily to talking to people as their prospective parliamentary candidate. My job has always been communication and building communities. So that part of it has just happened very naturally. Doesn't actually feel any different at all. The schools, there's been school closures. I spoke to someone on the doorstep whose daughter has high special needs and was doing really well in a school with not too many people and getting the right amount of attention. That school has been closed down because it wasn't crowded enough. That way of thinking. We have the money to educate our children. We don't even need to have class sizes of 30, for God's sake. We could reconsider that, especially for children with special needs. I think there's a youth mental health crisis, which is unfunded, and there aren't facilities. The sewage is something that comes up a lot in the sea, and water, which needs to come back into public ownership. It's ridiculous that water has been privatised. I mean, it's insane. And housing is barbaric here in Hove. It's just gone. There's no rent controls, as we all know in this country. We're sort of wedded to a relationship of freedom of landlords. And why is that? It should be people living in their homes that comes first, and they should be protected. Lots of amazing people are moving out of the area because the kind of people who make the area vibrant and colourful are usually the people who are not working in corporate jobs. They're the craftspeople, they're the artists, they're the people who run small businesses. They're all shutting down. All these beautiful small businesses are shutting down. It's our high streets are changing. And there is huge division and inequality in Hove. You have gorgeous houses that I'd love to live in, beautiful sea views, really nice, really, and there's whole areas which are just not represented and not, I don't feel listened to. In Portslade, in Hangleton, there's areas of immense poverty, and I don't really imagine Peter Carl spending much time around there. And to be really honest with you, if I can say this, it's probably a bad thing to say, but I said from the start, I don't want to be an MP, I don't want to be an MP, but I felt I had to do this. And it was actually a conversation on the doorstep in Portslade. Something shifted in my heart listening to this mum talking about her daughter and her school shut down. I had this absolutely passionate feeling that I wanted to do something about it. And it was stronger than my feeling about Gaza. And that was very strange for me to experience that. I suddenly realized what a powerful privilege it is to be an MP and the amazing job that so many MPs do, like ours, Caroline Lucas, now being replaced by Sian Berry. Caroline Lucas was a very, very present and caring and capable MP. Very safe Labour seats have been lost in the past when the public are not listened to. And that's what's really, really weird about this constituency is like, where is Peter Kyle? Anyone seen him? Kyle watching. It's like a form of bird watching, you know? Where is he? Where's Pete? So, yeah, unseat Pete is the slogan, one of them. I can honestly say, hand on my heart, that we are a joyful community building around this campaign. And I say this campaign, I don't say me. I'm here to voice what everyone is wanting. One thing I have brought from my theatre background is inclusivity and participation, and that people need to be empowered, they need to be included, every voice needs to be heard, everyone needs to be, has a place at the table. And we are dealing with inequality and with horror and with difficulty and with struggle, but we are going to party as we do it. We are going to have fun and we're going to have friendship and camaraderie and a sense of community. We're building a community. I've suddenly got all these new wonderful friends in my life, like from all different walks of life. And there's been no sort of diversity push or this or that. We are a genuinely diverse and wonderful mix of people of all ages. I would say at the launch, we had a 14-year-old speak, and we had, some die-in-the-wall socialists who've been at this for years and years and years, and people who've never done politics before, and people from the mosque, and people from Jewish communities, and mums. And it's just like, wow, this is what life could be like if we weren't all wedded to corporate interest and to militarism as a form of profit. This is what life could be like. We're good people. We all know how to get on with each other. Can we just do that again, please? So yeah, do join our campaign. It is fun. We do need more door knockers, and not just that. There's many events we're doing which we would love help organising. So I came from a family of parents who didn't vote because they were disenchanted. And then they voted for Corbyn, actually. That was the first time they voted. My mom voted about 3 months before she died for Corbyn. Choke me up a bit. So I was late registering to vote because I didn't come from a political family. Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't come from a political family, and I was late registering to vote, and then people shouted at me about suffragettes, and I thought, oh, okay, I better vote. And, it's not too late to change your mind. It's not too late to register to vote. It's an ancient right of a human being to take part in democracy. And the independents are standing here so that you can take part. It's not only strategy. It's not about voting for the lesser of two evils always. You can just not vote for evil, because there is genuine evil, and it's not a word I'd use lightly in both Tory and Labour when it comes to what we're seeing. So we are here to give people an opportunity to partake in democracy. And who knows, it could actually get some of us independents into power to hold what will be a Labour government to account and to not let them wield as much power and arrogance as they think they can. So even if it is just to participate and put a cross in a box that doesn't feel like you're marking it in blood, just vote independent, vote green, vote for the people who are standing for humanity. It's urgent that you do that, and you have to do that. So that's why normal people like myself are, who, mother, I work with young people, we're stopping our lives to do this, to make a stand so that people can vote. It's not a grab for power. It's an offer of democracy. So please take it, because so our struggle isn't in vain.